What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. This is Alex, and of course, today we have a special guest that's been on before, the director and writer of Fried Berry. I think you were the writer of that one too, right?
Yep.
It's Ryan Kruger. Thank you for coming on. We got some special news to talk about today to get people excited about. Welcome back, man. I really appreciate you coming on. How are things going?
Yeah, great. Thanks again for having me on. We had a really cool talk last time about Fried Barry and stuff, and since then it's Fried Barry has came out in the world like a hell of a lot more. And,
it blew up as far as I'm concerned.
It's great. I think as we were chatting earlier, with Shudder and having it on the last drive-in. And even just like distribution, like around the world and stuff like that, it just really got out there. And I think even like just the fan base for it, or the fans just messaging here and there all the time, and constantly somebody's talking about it. So it's nice. It's nice to know that people are still talking about it. Every time I search stuff just to check out and see who's talking about stuff, it's constant. Which is awesome, which is great.
It's a pretty it's a movie that you don't really forget too easily. Like, even if you don't like it, you're gonna be like, okay, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
Exactly.
Which is probably the worst thing. That was
the whole thing, so people remember,
Right, exactly.
Again,
the worst thing would be to make a forgettable film. So at least in my opinion, but
no, absolutely.
So you've been working on a few other things in the background. I saw you got a couple of shorts that are going to be coming up here.
Yeah, so I think briefly last time, I think we spoke about, I think just before Fried Barry, I was shooting some experimentals, and it's been like a 6-year thing, because it's only every now and then I shoot these experimentals, and they're all done now. The one of my new ones, the latest one's in post. I actually shot that a while ago during the making of Fried Barry. Actually, in the middle of the making of Fried Barry, I shot the one called Boogie Heads, and it's a very like voyeuristic one. It's, again, if you like Fried Barry, it's in that kind of world, I guess. But like, just dark and a little bit more experimental and stuff like that. So that's in post at the moment.
Where can you see that one?
Well, it's in post at the moment. So as soon as it's done, we'll be sending it to festivals. And the latest one that I shot, we edited that sooner than the other one, and which is called Alien Dick.
Yeah, which I saw that name, and that's what I was hoping you'd say.
Yeah, which says a lot. It's exactly what you think.
It's essentially the story of Barry's dick. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It's in the same world as Fried Barry. It's just a fun little short experimental, I guess. And it's literally about a security guard that's on the night shift. He works on this like government hangar, and he's pulling the night shift, and then obviously something happens, and the alien dick is let out and starts like basically causing mayhem.
Okay, all right.
It was just it was a one-day shoot. I also wanted to test some camera gear out and stuff like that. Some lenses out, and we just shot it, and it's a funny thing. So that's starting to do the festival run right now.
Awesome.
So I'll start pushing out some of that on my channels when it's playing at the next festival, if people want to check it out. And so I'm happy just to be tying up those experimentals, because it's been literally like a 6-year journey. Yeah. And finally the collection will be done now. So that's awesome, just to push that out and have that done,
Yeah, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of experimental stuff you're trying, because you like to do a lot of crazy shots and stuff. And when I heard news about this, and part of the reason why we have Ryan on today is because there is word that Ryan is going to be directing and possibly writing the Street Trash movie, the remake or sequel, we don't know.
Yeah. So so I can't say too much about the whole film yet, or I'll probably get into trouble.
Sure.
But yeah, so basically, some producers contacted me after they saw Fry Barry. They had the rights for Street Trash, and they wanted to make another film, and they said that I would be, my style and stuff would be perfect to do Street Trash. And I was like, great. And obviously, growing up, I watched Street Trash. I loved it, when I was a kid and everything. And so yeah, it's cool. And me and my business partner, we wrote. I came up with the idea, then we started writing the script, and yeah, so we're meant to be shooting that in October, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun film. If you like Fry Barry, if you like Street Trash, it's gonna be in that world. But as I say, it's. I mean, the original is great, and
Sure. Yeah.
it's one of, like, I'm not a big firm believer in doing like remakes and shit like this, and with Street Trash, the original, it's one of those where, like, don't change it. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect the way it is, the time and everything, and the way they did everything. It's cool, and it's like when you modernize something, or still have that DNA from the original, but at the same time, I'm going to make it my own, and it's going to be its own. It's going to be its own beast. But yeah, it's just going to be different, and that's why I don't look at it as a remake or a reboot. We always say a reimagining
Sure.
of the original. So it's going to be completely different, but at the same time, still have that DNA from the original of what people liked about the original and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just going to be a different type of Street Trash than the original.
And it's such an unconventional film to even remake, or just an unconventional film in general. Like, if you look at how they shot it, and a lot of the handhelds and stuff that they do in the movie, and a lot of the, like, everything is just very different than what the mainstream would have done. And it's like, when I look at your material, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Like, I can totally see why they thought Ryan.
Yeah, it was actually crazy, because when it was on, when Fry Barry was on the Last Drive-In, there was actually a lot of people mentioned Street Trash, which was quite funny. And it was only after that, people, they contacted me and stuff like that. So yeah, it's funny how all that, like, came about and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. It's got some great characters in, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun movie to make.
And not that you would shy away from any of the controversial bits, of course, because we've already seen Fried Berry, so we know kind of what is okay and what is not okay. Do you think you're gonna try to keep and maintain a lot of that in there, or is some of it too much?
I don't want to say too much. You're gonna have to wait and see, and I'm sure we can have a follow up and we can talk about
100%,
Street Trash and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd love to tell you guys more. But yeah,
I'm just excited, man. Like, it's good to hear, and I'm so glad that you got it, because I really feel like I don't think I could think of another director that would have, like, really fit into that. And the only thing I could think of is them going, oh well, let's try Lloyd, Lloyd from Trauma or whatever. And it's like, I don't even know if that would be a perfect fit. You know what I mean? Like, such a unique film.
Well, yeah, and it is. I mean, like, when I watched, Street Trash as a kid, I mean, for me, like, as a kid, what I really loved about it was obviously the body melts and all that. Obviously, they were like you're always waiting for the next one for for something else. And then apart from that, was the camera work, like all the steady cam work was awesome. And it's like, even back then, as a kid, I didn't know obviously too much technical stuff about film, but even back then, it looks different than another film in the sense of this camera just like moving about and moving around. And that was awesome to see that. And then, later on in life, when I watched it again, it still holds up today with that camera work. That camera
Sure.
work was awesome in the original, and yeah, and it's and and a big part of, I think, people that love horror and love those type of film is, again, comes back to the prosthetics and it being in camera, and I think that's an important thing. So that's one thing that I'm definitely doing with this
Good
film
to
is
hear.
keeping the prosthetics and not doing like CGI and shit like that.
That's great to hear. I'm thinking a lot of people will be really happy. I had a couple of friends that were like, I don't know, dude, like, I don't know if this is a good idea, like street trash. I'm like, yeah, I mean, you would think that, but I think there's always room for more exploding, melty people. Like, how many films can you name on your hand, one hand, that has that kind of stuff in it? There's really
Yeah.
not
Well,
that
that's what I'm
many.
saying. You can look at certain films, and you can explore an idea more. Whatever it was, it's like with anything. You've got a model there, and you can look at it, but at the same time, it's like how to think further out the box of a blueprint, and think what could be changed, or what could be added, or what could you do differently, and what there's a lot of things that you can explore through that and still maintain that like DNA of the original. And then at the same time, I mean, Street Trash has a massive cult following. It has a huge following that people, again, even with that film, people are always like talking about it. And at the same time, there's millions of other people that also don't even know about that film.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's it's a different set audience for people that like those type of films, and there's other people that don't know about those films. So you want to kind of hit the market in both ways, but still maintain the grittiness and this is why I always say, I think about this is what I loved about Fried Barry, that it's a pretty bold movie, and it was just like, and I think the day and age that we live in now, it's like you can't say this, you can't say that,
Right.
you don't want to offend people, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that, and it's when you look at everything that this council culture and all this and the way things are going on, and like stand-up comedians have probably got it the worst, but it's just like it's just like I think it comes down to personality and sense of humor. And, there's things that, I might laugh at, and then you go, dude, that's not funny. Or there's the things that we're in a group and you want to laugh, but then you feel like maybe I can't laugh because these people are going to find it offensive. And again, it comes down to personality and sense of humor. It doesn't mean you're against this. It doesn't mean you're against that. It's just, like, you got to take things with a pinch of salt. And at the end of the day, it is just a film. It is just a joke. And it doesn't mean that you're this and you're that or anything like that. And then at the top of it, you like with Fried Barry, these characters exist. Right. So it's like, if it's not your type of film, just don't fucking watch it. That's dead fucking easy. Just don't fucking watch it. And this is the thing that I think is, somebody could watch Fried Barry and, from the LGBT community and be like, that's offensive, or that's really fucking funny. Right. And then you'll have somebody else speaking on behalf of the LGBT community going, yeah, you can't say that. And then they'll be going like, what are you talking about? This is fucking funny. This is like really funny. So I think we live in a dangerous time in the sense of blocking certain things, because whatever we're blocking now or think about blocking now, in 10 years, in 10 years time, we're not going to be able to do even the silliest things that we think are absolutely nothing right now. Later down the line, they're going to be going, no, you can't do that. And you'd be thinking, what? Why can't you do that? So I think
there'll be just cues on the screen that say joke.
Yeah, but even now, I mean, there's things that people are doing right now that probably will look back in 10 years' time and go, I can't believe they're doing that. Right. You know what I mean? Because there's things that are happening right now which people are speaking about that happened like 30, 20, 10 years ago, and they're moaning about that. I mean, somebody was moaning about Clint Eastwood or something, and it was literally like 40 years ago. And they were going, yeah, Clint Eastwood, we should cancel him and all this. And I was like, it was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, you know,
it was a different world for sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like I sound old now saying this, but it's one of those things where when you're a kid and your dad says, you know, when I was a kid, this happens. And now it's like when your dad was at school, it was very different to when I was at school. And even now, when I speak to some people that I know have kids, dude, school's completely different to when I was at school. It's like completely different. So it's the world does change, and everybody's just going along for the ride. And there seems to be more bumps in the road than there used to be, of people just being more offended by the stupidest things. You know,
I think a lot of it has to do with that there is a large vocal minority, so they're speaking very loudly for most everybody else, and I don't think it necessarily always is attuned with everybody, because I see people on both sides who agree on the same thing, and it just, you never know. You never really know. It seems like people just want to get attention on certain ways, and I don't know.
It's a weird topic. I mean, even if you look at like Will Smith and Chris Rock, that whole thing, and you know, everybody's like, oh, we hate Will Smith and all this, and you know, he's had loads of movies that's been cancelled, that he's not filming anymore. But then, you know, I guarantee probably in about 9 months, it's going to be like, oh, we feel sorry for Will. It wasn't his fault. It was his wife. She was being a bitch, or she was doing this, she was doing that. And it's just going to do a whole 360. You know what I mean? And
or you got Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and, you know, that whole thing, and which I honestly didn't even pay attention to. I mean, I did, because it's just, when you hear someone talking about pooping on a bed, that's just going to stick out in your head.
I heard something about, I don't know the whole thing. I checked some of the like videos that was out that people were posting up and shit like that. But yeah, I don't know the whole thing. But from what I saw and what I saw online, like Amber Heard just looks like a really horrible person, to be honest. And but
that's how it makes it seem, for sure, 100%.
So that's all I know. And I mean, Johnny's also probably not perfect. You know, he takes a shitload of drugs at parties and all that. But I mean, it doesn't mean he's a bad guy. It doesn't mean he'll beat anybody. It doesn't mean he'll do any of that. I mean, so with all these things, there's always two sides of a story, and people will always exaggerate on, you know, whatever is happening. You know,
I'm a firm believer that anybody that you dig on for long enough, you're going to find something that doesn't look good, regardless of whether it's true or not. You're going to find something on somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's like looking at any like relationship. So, I mean, if I look at like, you know, any, like, you know, let's say like my girlfriend's ex-boyfriends. So obviously they all ended because she's going out with me. But at the same time, all those relationships might have been bad, but at the same time, they must have been good. Obviously, there was good stuff in those relationships, or you wouldn't go out with that person,
right?
And they, you know, maybe they turned into an asshole, maybe they were asshole all along, but there was obviously the nice side of those people, or you wouldn't go out with them. So, and you know, and that's the thing. So there's always good in everything, but you know, you'll also go through the shit times as well, you know?
Yeah, if it wasn't for a lot of the bad relationships I had with me or them being wrong, it doesn't really matter. I wouldn't have what I have right now.
Oh, it matters, Alex. It matters.
They'll find out one day.
Fucking you. It was you all the
fucking time. So I'm glad to hear that you're going to stick to your things, because I think you need to kind of like just go with it. Because I mean, first of all, I think for the most part, everybody knows that Street Trash is a pretty absurd movie, and it's enjoyable because it's absurd, and the practical effects and everything. So I think those are the two key things a lot of people are going to want to hear.
Yeah. Well, that's why, like, I think with Fry Barry was there is a story there, but it's a loose, the way we shot it and the way we show it. It's I always say it's more of an experience and it's very loose, but there is, that character development. There is, the character arc, and there's the whole narrative there. But at the same time, it's like you can't take it too seriously because it's just a wacky, crazy film. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't look into it too much. It's just have fun with it and just like watch it. Watch it with an open mind and just enjoy it.
Yeah, there was a movie that came out recently. I watched Dash Cam or whatever that's gotten everybody up in an uproar because one of the characters is anti-vax Trump supporter, and people on both sides are like, "You're making fun of my people," or "I can't stand this person." And I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Film is supposed to be, you're supposed to go for it a little bit. You can't just be so careful all the time. You gotta kind of like take some risks, and sometimes it's enjoyable.
As filmmakers, I think it's so important to take risks. I mean, I think Fry Barry was a huge risk to do. I think,
yeah.
I had all those other scripts I could have chose, but I chose Fry Barry because I thought to myself, this film people are not going to forget. This film people are going to remember. It's my first film. You should be, you want the people to remember this film. So I thought, I still think today Fry Barry is definitely a great first time feature film director film to get out there. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah. And I don't think, some of the messaging, and especially with some of the, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but towards the end, what happens with him and one of the people he meets, you can kind of get an idea. It's not like a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to just let go and have fun.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's why, dude, it's just a movie at the end of the day. And, if it's going to make people talk, then that's cool. It's people going to remember it, then that's great. And that's what you want. There's plenty of films that get made that people don't speak about, that people that won't even bring up in a conversation because it's not worth a conversation. So I'm very happy that, the way things turned out with the film, and to know that people are still constantly, talking about it. And even like now, like I just came back from Cannes Film Festival in France.
Yeah.
And that was great. It was the first time going to Cannes, and it was awesome experience. A lot of a lot of hard work, in a sense of it's just like meetings. It's not even about watching the films, to be honest. I did get to watch David Cronenberg's new film,
which I've yet to see.
Which was cool. But that's the only film I got to watch while I was there. I was too busy with meetings and stuff, and the amount of people there that are screening films, watching films, but at the same time you've got the market there. But it was literally like meeting after meeting, event after event, and it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of saying the same thing to the next person, and you'll know in the first 5 or 10 minutes if you're wasting your time talking to this person, if it's the person that you think that that you want to work with, or do what you think that they do, and stuff like that. So it's it was fun, but it was very like draining, and it was one of those things where I wanted to come home and just have like a home cooked meal and stuff instead of just like baguettes and cold meats and cheese, which I do like, but it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm missing some home cooked like food and stuff. And then the rand to the euro is not like very good. So over here you pay, let's say for like a Coke and a beer, you're going to pay like under 100 rand, maybe like 70 rand or something like that. And in Cannes, it was basically like 600 rand for a Coke and a beer. So it's
that's like $60 over here. $60.
It is expensive. But apart from that, it was great and it was fun. And
so are you doing investment opportunities when you say you're doing the meetings there and stuff like that?
So it's investors, working with other producers, distribution. It's all these things, and upcoming, upcoming projects with investors getting on board on films and stuff. But it was really cool. It went tremendously well, especially, I mean, it was like the last like 2 days of being there made all the difference, which was awesome. So, and it was a big game changer. And I think there's nothing better when you learn more stuff about the markets and for like pre-sales and all those type of things. But it's always great when you learn something new. But at the same time, there's when you know about something and you think, I think it's this, or I think it's like that. And then there was a lot of stuff there where it just approved what I thought, and I was right from the start and stuff like that. I mean, it's crazy the way, I mean, over the last 15 years, movies are way more easier to make than it was 15 years prior.
Digital.
It's that whole digital age. So it's way easier to make films now than it was before. And which also means there's more shit now than ever.
Imagine. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm constantly watching 5 or 10 minutes or something, going, that this is awful, and then just switch it off. And and then I end up going back to old school films that I've seen a million times, but I'll still be, I'll stick like Total Recall on, and it's just the title sequence, and I'm like, oh my god, this is going to be amazing again, and I just sit there and I enjoy it and watch it all over again. But I think at the market, you've got this like huge room, and you've just got all these distributors and distributors selling films and stuff, and there's just so many, and this is my opinion. So just saying that, but there's like you walk around and you see all these like film posters and all that, and you look at these film posters. And oh my god, there's so much shit. There's so much shit. Like you just look at all these like posters of all these films, and you can tell it's shit just from the poster. You're like, that looks cheap. That looks nasty. And there's just so many. But what a lot of these distributors do is basically they, somebody invests in whatever movie, and then they take these distributors take these movies, and then they have like, they take 10 of what they're representing, and they probably take 10 of those and sell it to one company for a really good price. And then all the filmmakers are getting fucked over because they're going, here's a little bit of money for you. Here's a little bit of money for you. And it's the only way they can sell those type of movies, because you look at the cover and you see the trailer, and you're probably not even going to press play. There's so many other posters where I'm like, no offense to this actor, but it's like, it'll be like Mario Van Peebles on the front cover, or like the guy that did the Hercules TV series. And I'm like, nobody's sitting there going, I want to watch that fucking movie. I'm going to be the first person to watch that movie. Like nobody's saying that. Like, there's no way anybody's saying that. So you look at that and I'm just like there's just so much shit out there, and I'm sure there's some hidden gems there, but a lot of the stuff I'm just like, I think you look at maybe like some of the movies from like Spain or Italy, and it looks like you've got some of these like cool, independent movies that look cool, and I think. They are hard enough trying to get distribution worldwide because it's a foreign language film.
Sure, yeah.
But they'll probably do better if they get a good distribution. Then we'll get to see it. But if not, I think their country will get to see it more. And then, but I think the overflow of like English and American movies, it just looks like there's just so much nasty stuff out there that they're trying to sell and stuff, and it's crazy. But at the end of the day, it's what you make and how good your actual film is, and how far your film can travel because of what it is. And it also just made me think. I mean, obviously, I love my first film, and I don't think it's the best film in the world, but I love it as that was my first film. But at the same time, I'm very humble and very happy that my film actually got out there and people actually watched it.
Right.
And people actually talk about it. And that's why I said, you look at all these other films, you've never heard of them, you've never seen it advertised. And some of these posters are old posters and not even new posters. And there's stuff where you're like, you've never heard of them, and you're probably not going to come across them either. So it's just nuts how people shit out that many movies so quickly for the turnover, so they can make more. It's a machine. That's literally what
a lot of them. It's like a assembly line almost in some ways. Makes it tough for people who are really trying to put something unique out sometimes, and you have to be that way.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and it's crazy how it's crazy how these films get, somebody puts money into these movies to get made. It's just nothing. It's like, fuck. And that's why I've heard of other directors with great ideas and this and that, and then you think, how the fuck did this film get made? But now nobody wants to make this guy's film. How did that get made? And even though it's a low budget, it's a good budget to make a movie. You know what I mean? And it's bizarre. It's fucking crazy. It's crazy how you can have that, where there's people that are struggling and they only need this amount, but then those films gets made. And that's the thing, it can be, they can sell that film to, different countries and different platforms. And that's why, like, I think this day and age, most younger people, unless they go digging for stuff, most young people, it's just like Netflix and that's it. It's Apple TV or Netflix and that's it. And then that means that all these great type of movies like Street Trash or like, it can even be whatever. It even could be Goodfellas or whatever, whatever, like the original Superman films or whatever. If Goodfellas goes on Netflix, it'll be on for like a few months or whatever, and then it's off. So all these films are just getting lost in time unless you go dig for it. So I mean, it's like the transfer from VHS to DVD. There was so many movies that didn't come to DVD, or we waited so long for them to come to DVD or Blu-ray. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of films that got lost back then. And then obviously on like Amazon, you can there's a lot of choice there and you can check. But if you're just on Apple TV or you're just on Netflix, what about all these films that nobody's going to know about? All these classic 80s films or early 90s films that, if it's not on there, they're just probably not going to know about it.
Yeah, that's the sad thing. And a lot of, I've noticed, like kids these days, they'll only know the mainstream and they don't really know all this. Like they'll say like for me, I love Shudder because it does a lot of the stuff that I grew up looking for or trying to get a copy of, or, longing to see for 3 years because I couldn't see a copy here and we didn't have the internet or, something like that. And they're like, oh, this is just weird, obscure, just random stuff. And I'm like, no, this is all the good stuff. You just don't realize it yet.
Exactly. And it's, but that's the thing. That's I don't know if I said this last time to you, but that's the difference of, when I was a kid going to the video shop.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My mom would stay at home because she knew that me and my dad and my brother were going to be in the video shop for a good, like an hour or two, like easy hour or two. And you would sit there and I wouldn't even read the back of the boxes, be like, oh, that looks amazing. That front cover looks brilliant. Let's watch that. And then you would rent it out, or your dad would go, all right, you can have two. And then you'd be like, oh my God, we can have two. And then we'd spend like another hour trying to get the other
perfect
film.
one. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like people, the younger kids now, they have no idea that what it was like. And that's why now it's just like, they're just scrolling through, whatever's just on Netflix. And, there isn't, I've been on Netflix and I've been on some of these platforms and there's not a great choice at all.
Yeah.
There really isn't a great number. They might have some good films here and there, but I would expect that there would be like at least like 1,000 films to look at, which is nowhere near that. You know what I mean? So it's crazy to think that there's not as many films as you know as you would think, and it's just scrolling through. And then there's more new content than old content, and that's why I said for the past 15 years it's easier to make movies now than before. But it's also like when I was a kid. I would say when I was a kid, all the way up to like 98. So yeah, anything before 98, I watched majority of the things. I watched most things from like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s. But then I think after 98, films, there was just content started getting like more and more, and it was like I could remember all these titles from all these other films, but now the content was just getting like way more, and I was just like, fuck, I can't even remember like half the names of movies, and then, which is even worse now. I think of the past 15 years, it's
really hard.
You can't watch everything, because back then you could watch everything, but now it's impossible to watch everything. And there's just way too much content. And that's why, like, when you watch series now, there's so many.
Oh my God. Do you remember when we were kids, we had like a handful of TV shows, and we pretty much hated all of them except one. And one was just kind of all right. And we were like, well, that's all we got. So
it's crazy how, there's some 80s TV stuff that I remember as a kid, I absolutely loved.
Sure.
And then you go back to some of them and they're like so bad. Like obviously, like for me, the A-Team was brilliant. I go back and watch the A-Team, still like it. I still love it. But then there's stuff like the Incredible Hulk series, and I'm like, all you want is them to turn into Hulk, and that's it. Like you just like, come on, like hurry up and turn into the Hulk, and that's it. That's all you want. And then obviously I used to love like Knight Rider and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just not. It just wasn't as good. It's funny because
Airwolf. Did you do Airwolf?
Yeah, totally. Like A-Team, Airwolf. What is it? A-Team, Airwolf, Knight Rider. They were like I had like 100 A-Team vans, like smashing them up as a kid. I had so many Knight Rider cars. I still got like a lot of them, and I still got the Airwolf helicopter in a box.
Okay,
still got it.
Nice.
Still got it. But yeah, I mean that was the shit back then, and then there was a lot of other. Yeah, I mean, there was still like a great. I mean, even in the 80s, used to replay a lot of 70s. 70s as well. Like Battlestar Galactica and stuff like that, and but TV has definitely changed.
Oh my God, we are so spoiled now.
Yeah. Back then, all the good writers were in film,
right?
And now it's the other way around. All the best writers are in series now, and when you watch something like Ozark or something like that, it's just like the writing's like so good, and it
blows you away. Like I like Ozark and Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and. Even like American Horror Story sometimes, or
there's just so much content, and that's why I think some great series, some people may not discover straight away because there's so much content, and that'll catch on later, which also might be too late because now they're not going to sign up to do a third season or a second season because it's other actors make the other arrangements doing other things. But yeah, it's like one of those where there's just. I think you can ask anybody. Somebody's told you about a series and you're like, oh man, that sounds really good. But trying to find the time to watch another series is hard.
Yeah, it really is. We have to dedicate like at least a while. Cause like, we're all doing stuff too. So, and if you're making movies, writing movies, that's just as much. So it's like,
wow.
Yeah.
It's time. Everything is like, time consuming, and you want to pick the good stuff, and that's why like it's funny. I will go back and I will watch old films quite often, but when it comes to a series, because there's so much series out there, I'm like I can't rewatch a series, even if I really loved it and enjoyed it, I just can't rewatch it because it's just too much other content to watch. So I'd rather
you got 16 hours laying around anywhere, because like it's like sometimes I just like, that's what I tell my my girlfriend. I'm like, I just want to watch a movie because movies are condensed. I can keep it right where I need it. It's not as engaging maybe sometimes, but it's a nice quick ride that I can just get off of and get back to work.
Yeah. Well, that's why, like, if a friend go, I've got like 3 episodes of this if you want to watch it. And then I'm like, you know what? Unless you've got all the episodes, I don't want to watch it, because I know I'll watch 3 episodes, and it might be another few months until I get to watch, the other episodes. And I'd rather see, when I watch something, I'll binge watch it, and I'll watch it like, within a week. I'll before I go to bed, I'll watch like all the, the episodes throughout the week, and then that's done.
Yeah, it's like in and out the other side, like boom, just like.
And then apart from that, if you're too tired and you haven't got a lot of time, like you said, you just stick on a movie, and then you're good for an hour and a half, and then that's it. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I appreciate you spending so much time with me today. I know you got stuff to do. I know we went over a little bit than we normally would, but that's okay. I don't mind at all. I'm glad to talk to you, man. And I hope to have you back. Oh, it just switched here. Hold on. Why did it do that?
What happened?
The thing flipped. So I was like, what the hell? And I hope to have you back, for when the movie comes out, because I definitely are going to want to talk to you about that before or after, whatever you want to do, man. Like, and
we will.
Put in a good word for me, because I definitely want to check it out as soon as possible.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah. As soon as we finish it and everything's done, then we're gonna obviously start pushing like a lot of things out and stuff, before the release and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll definitely have a catch up and speak about it.
Sweet. Well, thanks for coming back. And guys, if you want to follow Ryan, you can follow him on Twitter. I'll put a link in the description down below, so you can give him a follow and stay up to date on Street Trash. So thanks again, Ryan, and good luck, man.
Okay, cool, man. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care.